What if I told you that the most powerful souls aren't born, they're made, forged in fire, shaped by trials, and tested in ways most people wouldn't survive? You see, being chosen isn't about privilege or destiny. It's about endurance. The universe doesn't hand out enlightenment on a silver platter. It throws obstacles, pain, and challenges in your path to see if you're truly ready. And only those who make it through the storm awaken to their true power. But here's the catch. Most people fail these tests without even realizing they were being tested. They break under pressure, run from discomfort, and cling to illusions, instead of facing the truth. The question is, will you be one of them? Or are you ready to see if you have what it takes to pass the 7 hardest spiritual tests that only the chosen ones can endure? Stay with me until the end, because I guarantee that one of these tests will explain exactly why you've been struggling and how to break through it. And before we dive deep, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because here we don't just talk about spirituality. We uncover the raw, untold truths about what it really takes to evolve. Since ancient times, the idea of being chosen has carried a certain mystique. Many believe that chosen ones are born with something special, but this is a misconception. True chosen ones are not born ready. They are forged through the fire. 5 trials. Every challenge, every pain, and every moment of uncertainty is part of a process that separates those who merely wish from the rare souls who are truly willing to evolve. The real question is not about destiny, but about endurance. Are you willing to face what most avoid? Hardships are not curses. They are refining fires. Think of a blacksmith crafting a sword. The raw metal undergoes intense heat, relentless hammering, and repeated folding until it becomes an unbreakable blade. The same happens on the spiritual path. Those who refuse to break under pressure are the ones who emerge stronger, sharper, and more aware. Life doesn't choose people at random. It tests them, and only those who persist through the hardest moments prove themselves worthy of true transformation. Society often misleads people into believing that struggle is a sign of failure. In reality, those who suffer the most and still rise are the ones closest to awakening. Every setback, betrayal, or loss is an invitation to break free from illusions and see beyond surface-level existence. The difference between those who stay lost and those who find their purpose is simple. Chosen ones don't give up when the journey gets difficult. They push through, knowing that every challenge carries a hidden lesson. The irony is that most people avoid hardship at all costs, unaware that the very struggles they flee from are the keys to their true selves. Comfort zones may feel safe, but they also trap people in stagnation. The ones who truly evolve are those who step into discomfort willingly, embracing uncertainty as a necessary part of growth. Only through struggle does one develop the resilience needed to step into their higher calling. And this is just the beginning. Before one can truly awaken, they must pass through the first great test, the terrifying yet essential act of confronting their true self. Are you ready to face what lies beneath the surface? Test 1. Confronting your true self. The hardest person to truly face is yourself. Stripped of titles, relationships, and material possessions, who are you at your core? Most people define themselves by external factors: job titles, social status, the roles they play in others' lives. But when all of that is taken away, what remains? This test forces you to confront the raw, unfiltered version of yourself, and for many, that is a terrifying experience. Without distractions, you must acknowledge every flaw, every insecurity, and every suppressed truth you've buried over the years. Self-confrontation is not for the weak. It demands brutal honesty and the courage to sit in silence with your deepest fears. Imagine standing in front of a mirror that doesn't just reflect your physical appearance, but reveals everything you've tried to hide. The insecurities, the past mistakes, the unhealed wounds, everything stares back at you. Most people look away, preferring to numb themselves with distractions, but the chosen ones endure. They understand that true transformation only happens when illusions are shattered. Think of this as an internal detox. Just as the body accumulates toxins, the mind accumulates limiting beliefs and false identities over time. Facing yourself means purging everything that no longer serves you. This might involve painful realizations. Perhaps you've been chasing a life that isn't even yours, living according to expectations that don't align with your soul. It's uncomfortable but necessary. Only when you strip away the false layers can you begin rebuilding from a place of authenticity. Many fail this test because they fear what they might discover. But here's the truth. The parts of yourself you avoid are the exact areas where your greatest growth lies. Strength comes not from pretending to be perfect, but from embracing your imperfections and transforming them into wisdom. It's in the moments of self-reflection that you find clarity, purpose, and the ability to move forward, unburdened by the past. Once you've faced yourself, you're no longer controlled by illusions. You become free. Free to grow, free to change, and free to step into your highest self. But the journey doesn't stop here. The next test pushes you even further, embracing isolation and learning to listen to the only voice that truly matters, your own. Test 2, the isolation trial. In a world that constantly demands attention, silence can feel like a threat. Most people surround themselves with noise, social media, endless conversations, mindless entertainment, anything to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. But the chosen ones, they endure the silence. This test forces you into solitude, stripping away external influences so you can finally hear your own voice. It's in isolation that you realize how much of your identity has been shaped by others, and for the first time you start to understand who you truly are. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's a purification process. Think of a warrior retreating to the mountains for training, away from the distractions of the world, sharpening their mind, body, and spirit. Isolation does the same for the soul. At first, it feels unsettling. The mind rebels, craving stimulation, but eventually something shifts. The external noise fades, and in that stillness, you begin to hear your intuition more clearly. This is where profound insights emerge, about yourself, your path, and what truly matters. This trial often comes uninvited. Maybe life pulls you away from people, or circumstances force you into a period of solitude. Many resist it, feeling abandoned or lost. But those who understand the process know it's a necessary step in spiritual growth. Just like a caterpillar enters a cocoon to transform into a butterfly, you must embrace moments of isolation to undergo your own metamorphosis. It's in these quiet moments that the most powerful revelations occur. Most people fail this test because they rush to fill the silence with distractions. They seek validation, cling to relationships that no longer serve them, or drown in external noise. But true power comes from those who embrace solitude as a sacred space for self-discovery. The chosen ones don't fear being alone. They use it as a tool for growth. They understand that before you can connect deeply with the world, you must first connect deeply with yourself. Once you master the art of solitude, something incredible happens. Clarity. You begin to see what needs to be released, what no longer serves you, and what's holding you back. And that leads directly to the next test. The challenge of letting go. Are you ready to surrender what you've been desperately clinging to? Test 3. The challenge of letting go. Letting go is one of the hardest spiritual tests, not because it's complex, but because it requires trust. Trust that what is leaving your life is making space for something greater. Most people cling to things, whether it's relationships, beliefs, or even pain, out of fear. They hold on because the unknown feels scarier than the suffering they already know. But the chosen ones, They understand that holding on to what no longer serves them is the real source of suffering. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with unnecessary items. Every past hurt, every outdated belief, every toxic attachment is another rock weighing you down. The more you hold on, the harder it is to move forward. Letting go is like dropping those rocks. At first it feels uncomfortable, even painful, but soon you realize how much lighter you are. Growth isn't about adding more to your life. Sometimes it's about removing what's blocking your path. This problem is the mind resists. It wants certainty. It wants guarantees. But spiritual growth doesn't come with a roadmap. It requires faith in the unseen. This is why so many struggle with this test. They equate letting go with losing control. But in reality, surrender is the highest form of power. The moment you stop gripping so tightly, life begins to flow effortlessly. Opportunities arise, healing takes place, and you start aligning with what was meant for you all along. One of the biggest illusions people face is believing they must hold on to be safe. They think if they let go of a person, they'll be alone. If they let go of an identity, they'll be lost. If they let go of control, everything will fall apart. But the truth, the moment you surrender, you gain true freedom. Chosen ones don't let fear dictate their choices. They trust that life is always guiding them to something greater, even if they can't see it yet. Once you master the art of release, a transformation begins. You stop resisting life. You stop clinging to what is leaving and start embracing what is coming. And that prepares you for the next trial, one of the most painful yet powerful tests of all, the dark night of the soul. Are you ready to face the storm before the dawn? Test 4. The dark night of the soul. This is the breaking point, the test that shakes you to your core. The dark night of the soul is not just a period of sadness or confusion. It's a complete unraveling of everything you once believed to be true. It feels like the ground beneath you has disappeared, leaving you lost in a void where nothing makes sense. Relationships may fall apart, careers may collapse, and the things that once gave you meaning suddenly feel empty. This is not a punishment. It's a spiritual reset, stripping away illusions so you can awaken to a deeper truth. At first, the darkness feels unbearable. The mind scrambles for solutions, desperate to escape the pain. But here's the secret. The only way out is through. Most people fail this test because they try to numb themselves. Distractions, addictions, toxic relationships, anything to avoid facing the void. But the chosen ones, they endure. They allow the pain to crack them open, revealing the parts of themselves that were hidden beneath ego, fear, and false identities. Think of a seed buried underground. In the darkness, it seems lifeless, forgotten. But beneath the surface, transformation is happening. The same is true for the soul during this test. Every belief, attachment, and old identity that no longer serves you is being stripped away. The process is agonizing, but necessary. Only through destruction can true rebirth occur. Those who survive this test don't just heal, they emerge, completely transformed, with a wisdom that can only be gained through experience. There is a moment in this journey when you will feel completely alone, abandoned even by the universe itself. This is the ultimate test of faith. Will you keep walking through the darkness even when there is no sign of light? The chosen ones do. They understand that the darkest nights produce the brightest dawns. They trust that the pain has a purpose, even if they can't see it yet. And that trust is what carries them through. And when the light finally returns, something within you will have changed forever. You will no longer be the same person who entered the darkness. You will have shed old layers, released illusions, and stepped into a new level of awareness. But there is still one more test to face, the test of faith. When everything crumbles, can you still believe in what you cannot see? Test 5. The test of faith. Faith isn't needed when life is easy. It's when everything falls apart, when you're at your lowest, when the future looks uncertain, when every door seems to close, that your true level of faith is revealed. This test isn't about blindly believing in something outside of yourself. It's about trusting in the unseen forces guiding your path. Most people break at this stage, convinced they've been abandoned. The chosen ones, however, understand that faith is not about seeing the way. It's about walking forward even in total darkness. Doubt will creep in, whispering that all the struggle was for nothing. The mind will search for proof that things will get better, and when it doesn't find any, fear takes over. But here's what most don't realize. The absence of proof is the very reason faith is tested. Imagine walking through a thick fog with no idea where you're going. Every step feels like a risk, but those who keep moving forward eventually find solid ground. The universe doesn't reveal the entire path. It asks you to trust first. This test often comes disguised as loss, betrayal, or failure. Perhaps a dream you worked hard for collapses, or someone you trusted turns against you. In those moments, it's easy to believe you're alone. But faith is understanding that rejection is redirection, that obstacles are guidance, and that even the worst pain serves a higher purpose. Those who endure this trial without losing faith find themselves aligned with something far greater than they ever imagined. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is simple. Chosen ones surrender to the process. They don't need all the answers to keep going. They trust that even setbacks are stepping stones. Instead of resisting the unknown, they embrace it. And in doing so, they unlock a power that can't be shaken by external circumstances. Faith isn't about waiting for signs. It's about knowing deep in your soul that you are exactly where you need to be. And once you master this, the struggle ends. Not because life becomes easier, but because you stop fighting it. You realize that true power comes not from controlling life, but from flowing with it. And that leads directly into the next great test, surrendering to life itself. Are you ready to stop resisting and start trusting the flow? Test 6. Surrendering to life. True surrender is misunderstood. Most think it means giving up, but in reality, it's the highest form of trust. To surrender doesn't mean to be passive. It means to stop resisting the natural flow of life. The chosen ones understand that life isn't meant to be controlled, only navigated. This test forces you to release the illusion of control and accept that some things are beyond your influence. Those who resist this truth suffer endlessly, trapped in a cycle of frustration and disappointment. Imagine trying to swim against a powerful river. The harder you fight, the more exhausted you become. But the moment you let go and allow the current to carry you, everything shifts. Life operates the same way. Most people cling desperately to their own plans, unwilling to accept when things don't go as expected. But surrendering means trusting that even detours and delays are part of the path. The chosen ones don't force outcomes. They align themselves with the flow and move with it. This test often appears when things don't go as planned. When a relationship ends, when a goal isn't achieved, when life takes an unexpected turn, many people cling to what is falling apart, afraid of the unknown. But surrender means understanding that sometimes what seems like a loss is actually a redirection towards something greater. When you stop fighting life, you start seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. Letting go of control doesn't mean becoming careless. It means becoming adaptable. When you surrender, you stop reacting from fear and start responding with wisdom. You trust that if something is meant for you, it will come. And if something is leaving your life, it's because it no longer serves your highest good. The universe is always in motion, and those who trust its flow find themselves exactly where they need to be. And this realization prepares you for the final test, The moment where everything you've endured finally makes sense. The awakening. The revelation that all these trials were never meant to break you, but to reveal who you truly are. Are you ready for the final transformation? Test 7. The awakening. This is the moment everything clicks. The suffering, the trials, the moments of despair, they were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to strip away everything that wasn't truly you. Awakening isn't about gaining something new. It's about remembering who you've always been beneath the conditioning, fears, and illusions. The chosen ones reach this stage not because they are special, but because they refuse to break. They endured the fire and emerged reborn. The world doesn't change after awakening. You do. The same challenges still exist, but they no longer control you. You stop reacting with fear and start responding with wisdom. You no longer seek validation because you've found your truth. You no longer resist life because you trust its flow. The illusions that once blinded you, attachment, ego, doubt, begin to dissolve, revealing a reality far greater than what most can see. This transformation isn't sudden, it's a quiet shift. One day, you simply realize that the things that once triggered you no longer hold power over you. You don't chase happiness, you embody it. You don't search for purpose, you live it. Life stops being something happening to you and becomes something happening through you. You are no longer just surviving, you are fully awake. But here's the final secret. Awakening isn't an end, it's a beginning. Reaching this stage doesn't mean your journey is over. It means you are now capable of guiding others through their own darkness. The chosen ones are not just awakened for themselves, they become the light for those still lost. And that is the true purpose of every trial. You were never meant to simply endure. You were meant to transform, to rise, and to help others do the same. So now the question is, what will you do with this awakening? Will you step fully into your power, or will you turn away from what you've become? The choice, as always, is yours. So now you know, the chosen ones aren't born different. They become different by enduring what most people avoid. Every struggle, every moment of doubt, every painful loss, it was never meant to break you. It was meant to transform you. But here's the real question. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you resist the tests or will you face them head-on, knowing that on the other side of hardship lies your true self? Think about your own life. Can you recognize which of these tests you're going through right now? Are you fighting against the flow, clinging to control, or avoiding the truth staring back at you? Drop a comment below and share which test resonates with you the most. I want to hear your story. And if this video sparked something in you, don't stop here. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because there's so much more to uncover. The journey doesn't end, it only gets deeper. Until next time, keep rising.